12 food items you should stockpile in June 2026 to help avoid food shortages. But this is not just a food list. This is a list about small items that can help your kitchen stay more stable when prices, weather, and supply begin to become harder to predict. June may not begin with empty shelves. It may begin with a higher grocery bill, a familiar item becoming more expensive, or the feeling that your cart is getting lighter while the amount you have to pay is getting heavier. The interesting thing is that many items on this list are not meat, not rice, and not the things people usually think of first. But just one can, one jar, or one small bag can help a meal stretch further, make the kitchen more resilient, and make your family less dependent on the next trip to the grocery store. 12. Tapioca starch, the quiet ingredient that can make a meal stretch further. A pot of chicken soup is simmering on the stove. There are a few pieces of meat, some carrots, potatoes, and broth. The aroma is very inviting. But when you look into the pot, you suddenly think, what if 2 more people come to eat today? Many American families are feeling that way while food prices remain high, and every trip to the grocery store makes the bill heavier. Most people think that if they want a meal to feel fuller, they have to buy more meat, more vegetables, or more broth. But there is one ingredient very few people pay attention to: tapioca starch. Tapioca starch is not a major source of protein or vitamins. Its real value lies in its ability to make food thicker, softer, and more filling. Just 1 or 2 tablespoons of tapioca starch mixed with cold water and stirred into soup or stew can turn thin broth into a fuller dish without needing many more expensive ingredients. A small bag can also last a very long time, because each time you cook, you only need a small amount. It can thicken soups, stews, sauces, pudding, fruit pie filling, or support many gluten-free dishes. I really want to ask you, in your kitchen, do you usually use tapioca starch to thicken soup, bake, or cook something else? Share it in the comments. June is a good time to have this item ready. When the cost of meat, broth, and processed foods is still putting pressure on households, ingredients that help make the most of the food already available become more valuable. Move tapioca starch into an airtight jar. Keep it in a dry, cool place and protect it from moisture. If left in its paper bag near the stove, the starch can easily clump and lose quality. Maybe the most valuable thing in the pantry is not the most expensive item. Sometimes it is just a quiet bag of tapioca starch on the shelf, ready to turn a simple pot of soup into a more satisfying dinner. 11. Jarred applesauce, a soft food that can save even the days when you do not want to eat. There are mornings when the hardest thing is not making breakfast. It is wanting to eat something. That is a very familiar feeling for many older adults. After a poor night of sleep, after taking medication, or simply because the weather is too hot, the appetite seems to disappear. A plate of eggs, a slice of bread, or a serving of deli meat suddenly feels too heavy. The body still needs energy, but you do not want to eat. This is exactly when a jar of applesauce shows its value. Many people think this is only a food for children or a simple dessert. But in many American households, applesauce is always a familiar backup food because it is soft, easy to eat, and requires almost no extra preparation. It is not a superfood. It also cannot replace a full meal. But on the days when the body does not cooperate, applesauce does something very important. It helps you eat something light, soft, and gentle. It provides a little energy from the natural carbohydrates in apples, has a mild sweetness, is easy to swallow, and does not create the heavy feeling that many other foods can. A jar of applesauce can also create more value than you may think. You can eat it directly as a snack. You can mix it with oats or yogurt to create a simple breakfast. Or use it to replace part of the oil and sugar in many baking recipes, helping baked goods stay softer while still keeping a natural sweetness. That is why many people always keep a few jars in the pantry. June is also a good time to add this item. Summer increases the need for foods that are cool, soft, and easy to digest, while fresh fruit can spoil quickly if the power goes out or if it is not stored properly. An unopened jar of applesauce can sit quietly on the shelf for months, ready to use at any time without needing a refrigerator. However, there is one very simple note that many people often forget. After opening, applesauce needs to be stored in the refrigerator and used within a short time, according to the instructions on the package, to keep the best flavor and quality. An opened jar should not be left at room temperature for too long, especially on hot summer days. The true value of a jar of applesauce is not in how special it is, but in the fact that it is always ready on the days when your body does not want to cooperate. When you are tired, do not want to cook, and no longer have an appetite, something soft, light, and easy to eat can sometimes be exactly what helps you start the day again. 10. Canned pumpkin. When fresh vegetables become a luxury, there is a kind of price increase that does not make people panic right away. It simply makes you stand in front of the produce section a few seconds longer, pick up a squash, and then put it back down, wondering when a simple meal started requiring so much calculation. For many families living on retirement income or trying to control their budget, the concern is not a single price increase. It is the feeling that every week at the grocery store, they have to remove another familiar item from the cart. That is also when many people overlook a very simple option sitting right on the canned food shelf: canned pumpkin. It is not as attractive as fresh pumpkin. It does not have a green stem or a shiny skin, but it has one advantage that fresh vegetables do not always offer. Months after you buy it, you can simply open the can and use it immediately. Canned pumpkin does not completely replace fresh vegetables, but it helps meals keep their color, natural sweetness, and familiar feeling of fullness. Pumpkin's distinctive orange color comes from beta-carotene, a compound the body can convert into vitamin A, which supports vision, skin health, and the immune system. And this is also one of the most versatile ingredients in the kitchen. Just a few spoonfuls added to a pot of soup can make the broth thicker and naturally sweeter. Combined with coconut milk and spices, it becomes a rich and flavorful pumpkin soup. Mixed with flour, cinnamon, and a little brown sugar, it becomes a smooth pie filling. Or more simply, tossed with pasta, cheese, and black pepper. It creates a quick dinner that still feels warm and satisfying. The value of an item is not measured by how expensive it is, but by how many times it can save a meal. I am also very curious. If you could keep only one long-lasting vegetable in your pantry, would you choose canned pumpkin or something else? Share your answer in the comments. Your choice might help many people find an ingredient that works better for their family. June is also a good time to add this item. High temperatures cause fresh vegetables to wilt more quickly, while weather, growing seasons, and transportation costs can always cause unexpected price changes. An unopened can of pumpkin can sit quietly on the shelf for months, ready to use at any time without refrigeration. Just remember one small thing: store the can in a cool, dry place and always check for bulging, severe dents or leaks. After opening, any remaining pumpkin should be transferred to a sealed container and kept in the refrigerator for use within a few days. A can of pumpkin contains more than vitamins or its bright orange color. It contains the peace of mind that comes from knowing that no matter how the produce section changes, your kitchen will always have a simple ingredient capable of turning whatever is left into a warm, filling, and comforting meal. 9. Canned coconut milk. A small can that can turn a simple dish into an energy-rich meal. There are days when you open the pot and know that you cooked it right. There is hot broth, a few vegetables, some beans or chicken. Everything is fine, but there is still a feeling that something is missing. The soup is enough to warm your stomach, but a little while later you feel hungry again. Not because you did not cook enough, but because the meal has almost no fat, the component that helps create fullness and provides a more lasting source of energy. This is exactly why a can of coconut milk shows its value. Just pour a little into the pot, and the broth immediately becomes thicker, more fragrant, and naturally richer. A simple soup suddenly becomes fuller, softer, and more satisfying with every spoonful. Many people see coconut milk only as an ingredient for Thai food or curry. In reality, it is also one of the easiest ways to increase the value of an entire meal. A 13.5-ounce can of coconut milk usually provides about 600 to 700 calories. That means just one small can add energy to an entire pot of soup, curry, or beans without requiring many more expensive ingredients. The natural fat in coconut also makes food richer and helps the body better absorb certain fat-soluble vitamins found in vegetables. What makes it even more valuable is its flexibility. You can use it to make curry, pumpkin soup, tomato soup, or seafood soup. You can add it to oats to create a creamy, energy-rich breakfast, or combine it with frozen bananas and cacao powder to make a smooth smoothie, especially suitable for hot days or when the body no longer has much appetite. There is one thing I really want to ask you. In your family kitchen, what do you use coconut milk for most often? Curry, soup, or a special recipe that has been passed down through generations? Share it in the comments so everyone can learn more interesting ways to use it. Just remember one small thing. Store the can in a dry, cool place and keep it away from direct sunlight. After opening, any remaining coconut milk should be transferred to a sealed container and kept in the refrigerator for use within a few days, instead of being left in the can. The value of a can of coconut milk is not only its distinctive, rich, fragrant flavor. It is the ability to turn a simple pot of soup, a few familiar ingredients, and an ordinary day into a meal with enough energy, enough warmth, and enough comfort for everyone in the family to want another bowl. 8. Canned bone broth. Hot protein for the days when you do not want to cook. There are days when the refrigerator still has food, but you do not have enough energy to turn it into a meal. There is rice, frozen vegetables, a few pieces of meat, maybe even a can of beans in the pantry. Everything is ready. But just thinking about thawing, chopping, seasoning, cooking, and then washing dishes is enough to make you want to close the kitchen. That is when canned bone broth becomes very valuable. Many people only see bone broth as a broth for making soup. But 1 cup of quality bone broth usually provides about 8 to 10 grams of protein, much higher than regular broth. That means you are not just adding flavor, but also adding a gentle source of protein to the dish. More importantly, it does not require much effort. Just heat up the bone broth. Add a handful of frozen vegetables, some shredded chicken, or a can of beans, and you have a hot, flavorful bowl of soup that is easier to eat after a long day. Bone broth also often contains natural collagen or gelatin from the bone simmering process, along with some electrolytes such as sodium and potassium, depending on the product. It is not a health miracle, but on the days when the body feels drained, a hot bowl of broth with protein is still much better than skipping a meal or eating something too plain. The true value of bone broth lies in its ability to upgrade very ordinary ingredients. A pack of noodles tastes better. A can of beans feels more like a meal. A pot of frozen vegetable soup becomes warmer and more filling. You can also use it instead of water when cooking rice, quinoa, or stew to add flavor without needing much more meat. I really want to ask you, if you had bone broth ready in your kitchen, would you use it to make soup, cook noodles, simmer beans, or drink it directly? Store it in a dry, cool place and check the packaging before using. If the box or can is bulging, leaking, or badly dented, do not try to use it. After opening, transfer the rest to a sealed container. Keep it in the refrigerator and use it within a few days. Maybe the most valuable thing about bone broth is not the protein or collagen. It is the ability to turn a few separate ingredients in the kitchen into a hot, fragrant, and satisfying bowl of soup, right on the days when you need simplicity more than anything else. 7. Ghee, the longest-lasting fat in the kitchen. There is something quite interesting in many kitchens. People always remember to buy butter, but very few people think about storing fat. Until the day the power goes out, the refrigerator stops running, or you open a box of butter and realize the familiar aroma has turned into an unpleasant, rancid smell. In that situation, ghee proves its value. Ghee is not a special expensive type of butter. It is simply butter with almost all of the water and milk proteins removed, leaving behind pure fat. That small change creates a very big advantage. Ghee can be stored on the shelf for months without refrigeration before opening, while still keeping its distinctive, rich, buttery flavor. What makes ghee worth having in the kitchen is not only its storage life. It also has a smoke point of about 485 degrees Fahrenheit, equivalent to 250 degrees Celsius, higher than many regular butters and cooking oils. That makes ghee suitable for searing, stir-frying, roasting, or baking without easily burning and creating a scorched smell. Just one small spoonful can change an entire dish. A plate of vegetables becomes more fragrant. Mashed potatoes become softer and richer. Fried eggs have a better color. A hot bowl of rice or a simple pot of soup also becomes richer with just a layer of melted ghee on the surface. That is why many chefs see ghee not as a luxury ingredient, but as a base fat that can upgrade almost any meal. I would also really like to know your opinion. In your family kitchen, do you use regular butter, olive oil, coconut oil, or ghee the most? Share it in the comments so everyone can learn more interesting ways to cook. When rising temperatures make many foods spoil more easily, and the prices of different fats keep fluctuating, an unopened jar of ghee can still sit quietly on the shelf for months, ready to use at any time without depending on the refrigerator. To keep ghee at its best quality, always use a dry, clean spoon when scooping it. Close the lid tightly after each use, and store it in a dry place away from direct sunlight. Even a little moisture can shorten its storage life. What is worth noticing about a jar of ghee is not its golden color or its distinctive aroma. It is the peace of mind that comes from knowing there is always a stable source of fat in the kitchen, ready to turn simple ingredients into a more fragrant, energy-rich, and satisfying meal for the whole family. 6. Evaporated milk. One can that can save an unfinished recipe. There are times when a meal is not ruined because it lacks meat, vegetables, or seasoning. It is ruined simply because you open the refrigerator and realize the carton of milk is gone. Your morning coffee becomes sharper and more bitter. The pot of cream soup is no longer smooth enough. Mac and cheese turns dry. A baking recipe has to stop halfway just because it is missing an ingredient that seems so ordinary. Only then does a can of evaporated milk truly become valuable. Many people think this is just canned fresh milk, but in reality, evaporated milk has had about 60% of its water removed, so it has a thicker texture, a richer taste, and can replace many different roles in the kitchen. Just dilute it with water at the right ratio, and it can be used almost like fresh milk in many everyday dishes. Add a little to coffee, and the coffee becomes smoother. Add it to soup, and the broth gains a natural thickness without needing much cream. Mix it into mac and cheese, and the dish becomes richer and creamier. Use it in cookies, cakes, or pancakes, and the finished food keeps better moisture and a pleasant flavor. A can of evaporated milk does not just replace fresh milk. It can save an unfinished recipe. I also really want to ask you, if there were only one can of evaporated milk left in your kitchen, would you use it for coffee, soup, mac and cheese, or baking? Share it in the comments so everyone can learn more interesting ways to use it. June is also a good time to add this item. When hot weather makes fresh milk spoil faster, and running to the grocery store just to buy one carton of milk becomes inconvenient. A few cans of evaporated milk on the shelf can help you keep cooking without changing the entire dinner plan. Just store the can in a dry, cool place and keep it away from direct sunlight. After opening, transfer the rest to a sealed container, keep it in the refrigerator, and use it within a few days to ensure the best quality. Maybe the most valuable thing about a can of evaporated milk is not the amount of milk inside. It is the ability to keep your coffee, your pot of soup, your tray of baked goods, and your family dinner from being interrupted just because the refrigerator is missing one carton of fresh milk. 5. Pure cocoa powder. Some foods nourish the spirit too. There are days when you are not short on food. You are only short on a reason to sit down and let yourself rest for a few minutes. The busier life becomes, the rarer those quiet moments feel. And it is interesting that one of the things that helps many people find a sense of peace again is simply a container of pure cocoa powder sitting quietly on the kitchen shelf. Just one spoonful of about 5 grams contains only about 10 to 15 calories. But it is enough to create the distinctive aroma that changes the whole room. It is no accident that the scent of cocoa is always tied to slow mornings, rainy afternoons, or winter nights beside a steaming cup. What makes it even more special is the cocoa bean itself. Pure cocoa powder is rich in polyphenols, a group of natural antioxidant compounds that create its slightly bitter taste and distinctive deep brown color. Less processed types of cocoa usually retain more of these compounds, while also carrying a deeper and more balanced flavor than powders mixed with a lot of sugar. But the true value of cocoa is not in the nutrition numbers. It is in the feeling it creates. A cup of hot cocoa, a bowl of oats topped with a little cocoa, a fresh brownie out of the oven, or simply the aroma spreading through the kitchen after opening the container. That is why many people call cocoa a morale food, a food that nourishes the spirit and helps stressful days feel more manageable. A container of cocoa is also very versatile. You can make hot drinks, smoothies, mix it with Greek yogurt, add it to oats, or use it to make cookies, pancakes, and brownies. Just one small container is enough for dozens of uses. I really want to know, when you need to find a little peace again after a long day, would you choose a cup of hot cocoa or a cup of coffee? Share it in the comments so everyone can know your choice. When many fresh desserts have a short shelf life and spoil easily because of high temperatures, a container of pure cocoa powder can still be stored for months in an airtight container, in a dry place away from moisture, while still keeping its distinctive aroma. The value of a container of cocoa powder is not in the amount of polyphenols inside. It is the ability to turn a few very ordinary minutes into a quiet pause warm enough for you to regain your calm, take a deep breath, and continue the day with a lighter mood. 4. Chia seeds. A small spoonful can help breakfast keep you full longer. There are mornings so hot that you do not want to turn on the stove. You do not want to fry eggs, cook oats, or eat a meal that feels too heavy. But if you only drink coffee or eat something too casually, by mid-morning, your body starts to lose energy. Chia seeds can absorb water and form a soft gel. Just about 1 ounce, equivalent to 28 grams, has nearly 10 grams of fiber. That is why a small amount of chia seeds can make breakfast feel fuller, softer, and more satisfying for longer. The value of chia seeds is not in eating a lot of them. It is in their ability to turn very simple foods into a more proper meal. Mix them with milk or yogurt and leave them in the refrigerator for a few hours, and you have a cool, soft chia pudding. Add them to a smoothie, and the smoothie becomes thicker. Sprinkle them over oats or fruit, and breakfast gains more fiber, plant-based omega-3s, and a longer-lasting feeling of fullness. June is a very good time to add chia seeds. When hot weather makes many people want something light, cool, and low-cook, a jar of chia seeds can help create many quick breakfasts without turning on the stove. Store them in an airtight jar, in a dry, cool place away from moisture. Because chia seeds contain natural fats, if they are kept somewhere too hot or left open for too long, their flavor can gradually decline. Maybe the most valuable thing about a jar of chia seeds is not its small size. It is the ability to turn a light breakfast into a cool, soft, and filling enough meal to help you start the day without spending too much time at the stove. Do you like using chia seeds in pudding, smoothies, or oats? Share it in the comments. 3. Potato flakes. A small bag that can stretch the meal portions for the whole family. There are evenings when the pot of soup is still simmering. The aroma is still very pleasant. But just by looking at the amount of liquid in the pot, you know one thing right away. If everyone takes one more bowl, this meal will not be enough. Most people would think about adding more meat, more vegetables, or cooking another dish, but there is one simple ingredient that can change the entire pot of soup in just a few minutes. Potato flakes. Just a few spoonfuls of potato flakes can make the soup thicker, softer, and more filling. A dish that feels thin and a little lacking suddenly becomes more substantial without needing many more expensive ingredients. This is the real strength of potato flakes. They do not just make quick mashed potatoes. They help stretch a meal. Depending on the product, about 1/3 cup of potato flakes can create nearly 1/2 cup of mashed potatoes after adding water, milk, or butter. But in real life, the greater value is that just a small amount can thicken soup, stew, or sauce. You can use them to make mashed potatoes in a few minutes. Stir them into vegetable soup or chicken soup to increase thickness. Add them to stew to create a more filling feeling. On days when you need to save money, this is the kind of ingredient that makes a meal feel like more without cooking again from scratch. When many families want to reduce grocery trips and store ingredients that are light, dry, and easy to use, a bag of potato flakes can become a very practical solution. Store them in an airtight container, in a dry place, away from moisture. If the bag is left open for too long, the flakes can easily absorb moisture, clump, and lose flavor. The value of a bag of potato flakes is not in how quickly it makes mashed potatoes. It is in the ability to turn a slightly lacking pot of soup into a more satisfying meal, so everyone can still take another bowl without looking at each other with worry. Do you usually use potato flakes to make mashed potatoes, thicken soup, or add to stew? 2. Shelf-stable tofu. Protein that does not need a refrigerator. We often think protein has to come with a refrigerator. Meat in the freezer, milk in the fridge, eggs in the cold tray. But when the refrigerator stops running, the question is no longer what to eat tonight. The question is which protein source is still safe to use. And shelf-stable tofu becomes very important. Unlike fresh tofu that must be refrigerated, shelf-stable tofu is packed in a sealed box and heat-treated, so it can sit on the shelf for months before opening. That turns it into a stable protein source that many people often overlook. A serving of about 3 ounces, equivalent to 85 grams of tofu, usually provides about 8 to 10 grams of protein. That number is not too high, but the strength lies in the fact that you do not need a refrigerator to keep it ready. When meat needs to be thawed, it can already be used. When you do not want to do much prep, it can go straight into the dish. You can cut it into small pieces and add it to soup, add it to noodle soup, stir-fry it with vegetables and sauce, or quickly pan-sear it to add more protein to dinner. The best thing is that shelf-stable tofu does not need to pretend to be meat. It simply does its job well. A simple, soft, easy-to-use, and stable protein source. June is a good time to add this item. When high temperatures make fresh foods spoil faster, a few boxes of shelf-stable tofu on the shelf can bring peace of mind without taking up much space. Store it in a dry, cool place and keep it away from direct sunlight. After opening, the remaining portion needs to be refrigerated and used within a short time, according to the instructions on the package. What is most worth keeping about shelf-stable tofu is not that it perfectly replaces meat. It is the peace of mind that comes from knowing that even when the refrigerator is no longer an option, you still have a simple protein source waiting on the kitchen shelf. If the power goes out and there is no fresh meat left, would you be willing to use shelf-stable tofu instead of meat? 1. Molasses, the most underrated sweetener in the kitchen. When thinking about sweeteners, most people will buy sugar. White sugar, brown sugar, honey, syrup. They are all easy to understand, easy to use, and familiar. But there is one small, dark brown bottle that often sits quietly on the shelf, passed by many people without being noticed. That is molasses. At first glance, it is not as appealing as honey. It is thick, dark, deeply sweet, and slightly earthy. But that very flavor is what white sugar cannot replace. Molasses does not just create sweetness, it creates depth. One small spoonful can make hot oats taste warmer, cookies and gingerbread more fragrant, baked beans richer, and BBQ sauce darker with its own distinctive sweetness. If using blackstrap molasses, it also retains some natural minerals such as iron, calcium, and potassium. It should not be treated like a supplement, but compared with refined sugar, which mostly only creates sweetness, molasses clearly has more value. When many families are grilling BBQ, baking at home, or looking for versatile ingredients that can be used for a long time, molasses becomes a small but very useful item. Keep the lid tightly closed, store it in a dry, cool place, and keep it away from direct sunlight. The value of molasses is not in its sweetness. It is in its ability to turn very ordinary dishes into something with depth, warmth, and the feeling of a kitchen that has been cared for across many generations. In your kitchen, would you choose brown sugar, honey, or molasses to keep for the long term? Maybe the most important thing is not how many items you have stockpiled. It is understanding which items truly help make your kitchen more resilient when life changes. A small can, a bag of powder, a jar of seasoning, or a box of food on the shelf may not seem important today. But at the right moment, it can help you cook one more meal, stay calm, and take better care of your family. Preparing is not about living in fear. Preparing is about stepping into tomorrow with less worry. If you already have any of the items on this list, share them in the comments.